Let's have a look at some ornamentation techniques to see if we can express more of the language of Indian music with the guitar. So with the guitar we have the three main ornamentation techniques, being hammer-ons and pull-offs, like this sounds different to just picking the notes, because they have a softer sort of transition rather than plucked. It's a slightly softer sound. And then you have a slide, so again that's got a graceful sort of movement to it. Because it's a fretted instrument, you can't slide really slowly, because then you hear it dragging across each fret. So the slide needs to be a fairly smooth motion that doesn't take too long, and you can do very quick slides which sound nice as well. And then the third one is bending. So you can bend on the G string, it's very nice to bend downwards, and that's more akin to how you bend on the sitar. So you're getting the string kind of under your finger as you're going like that. You can bend on the higher strings, like, and that can sound great as well. And to me it's a bit more similar to, well, it's how I would bend if I was playing blues, so it might just be because of my background, but that style of bending makes me feel more, it's more appropriate for blues playing in my opinion, whereas the downward motion has it feels to me that the physicality, the sense that you get on the notes is more appropriate for the ornamentations of Indian music. So that's something that it can really enhance your playing if you can start to employ these. And what I've found is that using them in combination with each other is actually what helps you to get closer to a sort of vocal sound, because with Indian classical music it's really vocal music, so the instruments all have their own way, whether they're fretless or whether they have big arched frets like a sitar. You have some way of bending and gliding notes together in order to imitate the voice. So a lot of musicians just learn directly from a singer, so their guru might just sing and they would just play their instrument, so they had to try to copy the nuances of the voice, which is kind of impossible to do exactly, but you can get close to it. You can start to embody the sort of the feeling of it. So for example, you could try something like doing a hammer on and then sliding back. So if I just do a hammer on pull off, then that sounds like that. If I go and slide back, it just creates a combination of nuances. And maybe I hammer on and I slide. And that was I sort of did the slide twice. And when you do it slow, it sounds it doesn't just sound like the same thing slower, it sounds like a different expression altogether. That's how it feels to me. When you do things faster or slower, it actually changes the overall sound quality. So you can really experiment with that, do these nuances fast and slow and see how much you can get out of it. So how about maybe a bend and a slide, like, so slide and bend into the next note. And then that's really nice on the way down, like. So that's quite difficult because I'm sliding, this is a 9 to 6, but as I'm sliding, I'm actually bending almost before I've arrived. So it actually happens, the bending happens just after I pass through that fret, but it happens so quickly once I've got to the 6th fret that you don't hear that. You hear, yeah. So you might want to try the initial one first. So that's rainy, sunny, rainy, sunny. So try that one, and try the ni, re, ga, re. So, and then you can try doing the faster one. And when you mix them together, it starts to sound different from just a regular guitar ornamentation, and it starts to take on this sort of multi-dimensional sound that the voice might have, as the voice just effortlessly moves through all of these different notes, all these different nuances. You can find your own voice with the guitar this way, because the way that you do it is bound to be different to how I'm doing it, and the way I'm doing it is slightly different to how other people would do it, you know, because it's partly mixed in with my own background as a player, everyone that you learn from, and just your own inner sense of what you like. Because when you're doing these things, I often think that it's the hand that's almost deciding and learning and governing what's coming out, more than just your conscious mind. You can't really think about all the little nuances, but every time that you do something, if you like it, you like the sound, you like the feel, then you kind of remember that, and it gradually works its way into your hand. So your hand kind of knows what felt good and what nuances worked and what you liked in a way, and I think it starts to just build up a memory of those. So your hand does things that eventually, through the filtering process, your hand starts to do the stuff that you like, and you don't even really know how you're doing it sometimes, but your hand is really expressing that. It's the way that the hand is moving. So it's a really personal thing that builds up through your own process of trial and error, and the accuracy. Once the accuracy starts to come, then it's really something that you don't think about very much. It just comes as something that comes very naturally. When you're warmed up, things start to spring out of you. But you can really focus on just mastering each one, so hammering and pulling off and making sure that, see, when I did that pull off, you could really hear the sound of the note purely from the pull off, and that's just a different tone. That sounds different to that. It's subtle, but it is there. And yeah, of course, the hammer on, you need to get right on the fingertip, and the hammer on actually happens quickly. So you could do a long note and then the hammer on, but once you bring the hammer on down, you do it quickly. Similar with the slide, slow but then fast. So as soon as you start moving, you have to do it fast. With the bending, you can do it slower. And that was a sort of silent pull-off almost. But you just hear that pass subtly at the end. So the thing with the bending is I'm doing it with the downward motion. So getting right on top of the string with my fingertip, getting right against the fret, and I'm using my other fingers in combination so I can pull the string with more strength. And try not to apply vibrato. I know it might even sound like there's vibrato in Indian music, but there isn't really. It's if you're doing something a fast movement with a bend, it's actually moving between two notes, so it's not. See, that's just more bluesy. It's a great sound, but that's moving between microtones. But the way that it works in Indian music is that I think the reason for it is that it kind of disguises the real interval a little bit, and it changes the feeling of it. It doesn't have the pure sound of the interval. So you do all these ornamentations, but the ornamentations are meant just to beautify the actual interval that you're working with. So you don't obscure the interval by doing vibrato. You mix it with a different interval. So if I did it slow, that's a fast, and it's just moving between re to ga. So doing it fast sounds like vibrato a little bit, but it's quite different. So you do it slowly. So again, I'm not thinking about how far away the note is, it's through the repetition of doing it, your hand starts to remember.